I've been making videos for years, first for other people, other companies, and now for my own channel. And after years of doing this, I've come up with what I think is the best organization, storage, and backup solution for content creators. And in this video, I'm going to share it with you. Every project starts with a recording, and whatever device you use to record your videos, it needs to have enough space to store those videos. So whether you're using a phone, like what I'm using right now, I need to have enough storage space on that phone to hold this video that I'm shooting right now and other videos. Okay, if you're using another type of camera, perhaps a DSLR camera, well then it probably accepts an SD card and you would record onto those. So SD cards you can buy in various sizes, 64 gigabytes, 128, 256 gigabytes, but a phone is a little bit different. You can't, I mean, with some phones you can, but I'm an iPhone user, and on iPhones you can't add storage to them. So whatever storage comes with your iPhone, that's all you have. So what you need to do is go into your iPhone settings and find out how much available space you have. On the iPhone, you would go to Settings, and then General, and then iPhone Storage. On that screen, you'll be able to see how much storage you've used and how much you have available. Okay, so that's a good starting point, knowing what you have available. If you're using another type of phone, it would have a way for you to check the storage available as well. Once you know how much available storage you have, now you want to consider how much storage do you need to record the videos you want to record. As an example, the last video that I made ended up being around 11 minutes long, but the actual video recording that I took was probably closer to 20 minutes because I usually make mistakes when I make videos. So that 20-minute video on my iPhone in 4K 30 frames per second was 6.2 gigabytes in size. Okay, so I needed 6.2 gigabytes to film that 20 or so minute video. If you don't record in 4K, then you probably don't need as much. But if you think you're going to go longer than 20 minutes, you're going to need more. And so you can imagine that the more you record videos on your phone, if you leave those videos on your phone, you're just going to fill up your storage space. It's not going to take long before you have a decision to make. And so what I normally do is when I'm finished filming for a specific project, I will offload all of my files, my video files for that project, from my phone to my computer, and then I would get them off my phone. So check to see how much available storage space you have on your phone, and then you can make decisions based on that. So now, how do I get my video files off of my phone and onto my computer? Well, it's kind of easy for me because I'm using an iPhone and a MacBook, and since both are Apple has this thing called AirDrop. So I'm able to AirDrop, as long as my phone is close to my computer, AirDrop the files basically through using Wi-Fi and Bluetooth from my phone to my computer through the air without having to connect any wires. Okay, so that makes it dead easy. If you don't have either a Mac or an Apple phone, then what you probably can do is just connect your phone to your computer, usually with a USB-C cord. Okay, so once you do that, and you'll have to look up your specific phone to see exactly how you do that, but it should be as simple as connecting your phone to your computer with a USB cord, and then opening either Finder if you're on a Mac or File Manager on a Windows computer. Locate your video files and then copy them over to your computer. One trick I like to do is I'll open two windows, two Finder windows or File Manager windows, one showing where my files are coming from and one where my files are going to. That way I can just drag and drop, and it makes it super easy. Next, let's talk about the computer. So I'm using a MacBook Pro, and I've got 2 terabytes of storage space in my computer. Now, you don't need that much, but you do need to know how much available space you have. What you're going to want to do is set up some kind of an organizational hierarchy of your folders. Okay? I'll show you what I mean. So what I have done is I've created a My Projects folder. Okay, all of my projects go in there. All the projects that I keep on my computer, that is. So I've got a My Projects folder here, and then with it highlighted, you can see over here what projects are in that folder. So I've got a bunch of other folders. All right, each one of these folders is a video I've made. Well, in some cases, this is just extra graphics that I use for live streaming, and this is a course that I'm working on. But like this is a YouTube video I made, so is this one, and so is this one. So what I do is I will create a folder, and then I'll start by naming it with the date. And this date doesn't have to be exact, but the approximate date that I'm going to publish the video, and then what I think the title is going to be. And again, that doesn't have to be exact either. So for example, for this project that I'm doing right now, I can create a new folder. So I would right click here, click on new folder, and I would go 2025, and it's August 21st. Let's call this storage and backup. Okay, there's my new folder. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click to go in that folder, and within here I'm going to create subfolders. So the first one is always recordings. Okay, and let's just go in that right away. And I'll show you over here, this is another Finder window. Again, if you're on Windows, you can have multiple file manager windows open at the same time as well. This Finder window I have on my downloads folder. I've got that selected because that's where I just airdropped the video for the first part of this video that I just recorded. Okay, I've just airdropped that here, and here it is here. So what I can do is just drag this over to the recordings area. So this is from my iPhone. I'm going to click and drag it over here, and I've just moved it. Okay, so I've gotten it out of my downloads folder. It's into my recordings folder of the project I'm working on. And we can see this file is 5 gigabytes long. Now, I believe it took me around 15 minutes to film. However long that's going to end up being, I don't know yet. But that was around 15 minutes, and that's 5 gigabytes. That's a 4K 30 frames per second video. That's how I recorded that. All right, so that's all I have to put in here at this point. But when I'm finished recording this section, this video that I'm recording on a different camera on an SD card is also going to go in this recordings folder. Okay, so in this folder, I'm going to keep all of the videos that I record to make this final end product video. All the individual recordings are going to go in this folder here. Okay, so let's click the back arrow to go back up a level, up to recordings. Now, there's other folders that I'm going to want to put in here as well. One for the thumbnail, one for the epidemic sound, etc. So instead of recreating all that here, I'm going to go up to the top level again. So here is that new project folder that I've created. So far we're up to 5 gigabytes because of the one file we put in there. Let's take a look at the last project I did 2 days ago. Now that project is 14 gigabytes. So you can start to do the math. How many gigabytes do you have available on your computer to store new projects that you're going to create? All right, how many videos do you want to make a week? 1 video a week? 2, 3 videos a week, right? Let's take a look at this project from a couple days ago. I'm going to double click and you can see what's in here. So here's my recordings folder. I've got an epidemic sound folder. That's where I put any music or sound effects that I download from Epidemic Sound to use in the video. I have a B-roll folder. Now sometimes I put that folder inside the recordings folder, but just to keep things separate, in this case I had a separate B-roll folder. And then a thumbnail folder. That's where I drop in my screenshots, which I then bring into Canva, create my thumbnail, download it. Even the final thumbnail goes in here. So I can even double click there. You can see where it is here. I took 3 screenshots, settled on one, and there is my thumbnail that I went with. Okay, so the thumbnail folder doesn't take up much space, 25 megabytes. The B-roll, I must not have very much in there. No, there was just one screen recording. Recordings is the big one, 6 gigabytes. And epidemic sound, 56 megabytes, not much. So the bulk of it is the video recordings, okay? 6 gigabytes. Now the other 2 files here, this one is the final rendered video that I uploaded to YouTube. You can see it's 1.7 gigabytes, all right? And then this is my project folder from Camtasia. It basically holds everything that you used to make your final video. So it's usually around the same size as the recordings folder, 6.2 to 6.17. Okay, so this is my folder structure, and I do something similar to this for every project. Let's go back up to the top. So how many projects do I have here in this My Projects folder? 1, 2, 3, 4, my last 4 videos for YouTube. Okay, where are the rest? They're not on my computer. Now, do I have room for more? I sure do. If we look down here, it says I've got 657 gigabytes available on my computer. That's of the 2,000 gigabytes or 2 terabytes that my hard drive is. But I have programs on my computer, right? There's just a lot of other stuff. And actually this live streaming guide that I'm building, that's 547 gigabytes. That's half a terabyte right there. So once I finish that course, I'm going to get that off of my computer as well. And I'll show you where they go. But yeah, so you need to look at how much space you have available on your computer and then make the decision, you know, how often do you need to get files off of your computer. You need a storage solution. Now, you could do that with just some external hard drives, and you could just build them up over years if you want to and have a bunch of them. But what I did is I got a NAS. NAS stands for Network Attached Storage, and the unit that I have is by Synology. It's got 6 bays, so I could put 6 different hard drives in it. And the advantage of a NAS is it's connected to the network, so you can move files around by opening another Finder window, just the way I just showed you. But also, when you have multiple drives like that, you can set them up in a safer configuration. So I've got mine set up in a RAID configuration, and I have several drives. I actually have 5 of the 6 bays filled with hard drives, and so that if any one of those drives fail, I don't lose any data. The other advantage is the NAS itself is a mini computer, and it runs software, and that allows me to run backups from the NAS instead of manually doing it from my computer. And then it's basically like a hard drive outside of my computer. So I move my files from my MacBook to this NAS, okay? And I do that whenever I feel the need. If my computer is getting a little full, then I'll move more files over, okay? So it's something I have to manually manage, but I'm in my computer all the time anyways, and I don't have to get up to do this. My NAS is under my staircase in my house, nowhere near my office. And yeah, since they're both connected to my home network, it's easy to transfer files back and forth. The other advantage to the NAS is it's connected to my home network, yes, but I can remotely access that. A couple months ago when I went away to Whistler, I was able, from the hotel room, to access my NAS and grab any files that I had stored on the NAS to use. So if I wanted to grab some B-roll from a previous video I had made and use it on a video I was working on somewhere else in the world, I can easily dial that up and copy it over. Not a problem. So, and I can also go the other way. I can save files. I can move files to my NAS from Whistler, BC. Now again, you don't have to go this fancy. I started building this years ago when I was making lots of videos for clients. I was freelancing through Fiverr, and I wanted to be able to keep everything that I had ever done for my clients and didn't want to lose anything. So that's why I have the system that I do. But if you're just starting out, you don't need to start out as beefy as that. You may still want to get a NAS, which I do recommend. It's very handy. The remote dial-in ability is great because I can take my laptop with me anywhere and still connect to my NAS. But you can get a Synology NAS that only has 2 bays if you want, and you also don't have to set it up in RAID configuration like I did and sacrifice one of your drives. And if you're doing backups, then perhaps there's no need to do that. So let's talk about backups now. A storage solution is not a backup solution. If there's one thing that I can guarantee you is that all hard drives will fail at some point. Hard disk drives, HDDs, they fail more often than SSDs, solid state drives, but they will all fail given time. If anything's important to you, like important files, important information, you don't want to ever just keep 1 copy. You want to keep 2, all right? And the perfect backup system is something called a 3-2-1 system. I think that's what they call it. But basically, have 3 copies of your files in 2 different ways, like 2 different types of media, okay, saved 2 different ways. And the one is one of those copies should be off-site somewhere, like not in the same physical location as the other 2, okay? That is the perfect system. And that's what I've set up here. The NAS is my storage, okay? That's only 1 copy, so that's not a backup. So I need to back that up. Am I going to buy another NAS and have 2 of them? I suppose I could, but no. What I did is I bought an external drive, which is what you could use in the first place instead of a NAS, right? Just an external drive, but it won't come with the extra software, which I find very handy. So you can get an external drive, plug it into the NAS, okay, under the staircase, and then you can use the NAS software to set up weekly backups so that the NAS will back up to this external drive. So I got a Seagate 22 terabyte drive. Yes, my NAS will hold up to 36 terabytes, but I currently only have, I think it's around 9 or 10 terabytes of space used. So that will, no problem, that will back up onto a 22 terabyte backup drive. Okay, so I've set that up to back up automatically every week, basically Friday night at 1 a.m. or Saturday morning 1 a.m., something like that. So that just happens automatically. Now, 9 terabytes or whatever it was when I first ran that first backup, that took, I want to say 4 days. It took a long time. But that's only the first backup. Every additional time the NAS backs up to that, it only takes, like in my case, it takes anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes is all it takes. Because it doesn't back up everything again, it only backs up what has changed. And not only that, it has enough smarts in it so that it has versioning. So you can go back, let's say you want to go back to the version of a certain file that you had 3.5 months ago. You can easily pull that out of your backup and it's there for you. Okay, so that's the first step. So that now with that, I have 2 copies, okay, 2 different media. So one is on the Synology NAS, the hard disk drives. The other one is on the external Seagate drive. But what about the offsite one? One thing you could do is, if you know of somebody else that has a similar system to you, like let's say a family member is also a content creator and they have a NAS, your NAS, you can set it up to back up to theirs and vice versa. Okay, so that's one thing you could do. I didn't do that. Another thing you could do is you can sign up for an off-site storage service. Okay, something like a Google Drive or Dropbox. That could get very pricey when we're talking about terabytes and terabytes, okay? And, you know, for as long as you want to keep this stuff, right? You could be into paying large monthly fees for life, right? So there's that. Another option is something called Backblaze. It's similar, but it's cheaper. And I want to say it's around $5 a terabyte per month, okay? So in my case, 10 terabytes times 5, so that's $50 a month already, and that will only go up in time. So I didn't do that either. What I do is I bought another external Seagate 22 terabyte drive. All right, this one I labeled monthly for monthly backups. I'm only going to back up to that one once a month. And what I do is, when I want to run a backup, this one has to be manual. I will plug it into the NAS. The NAS can have up to 2 drives plugged in. There are 2 USB ports in the NAS to plug in 2 drives. So my main weekly backup and the monthly backup can both plug into it. Okay, so once a month I'll plug that in. I'll run the monthly backup. The first one, again, about 4 days. Okay, but then as soon as that backup is done, I unplug it and I take it over to my brother's house. He lives about 4 or 5 kilometers away, and I store it in his office. Okay, that's off-site. Now, if you can do something similar to that, maybe you have relatives, family members, a close friend, or something, you know, that they wouldn't mind storing this for you. It's all encrypted. You don't have to worry about you know, them getting access to your files or anything like that. You can set up encryption. And then what I've done is I've gone ahead and in my Google Calendar, I've set a reminder to myself on the last day of every month to go grab my drive and run a monthly backup. So on a Friday afternoon, I'll grab my drive. It'll run overnight, and by Saturday morning or the next time I head over there, I'll take it back. Again, because every additional backup will only take, well, maybe it'll take maybe an hour. So, if over the course of a month I've transferred a lot of files. So some final thoughts. If you use a phone to do your recordings, make sure you've got enough space on your phone for the videos you want to record. If you don't use your phone, and you use a camera, make sure you buy a large enough SD card that it will hold all the video files you want it to hold. Decide how important your data is. I'm backing up not only the raw video files that I shoot, but also the project files and everything. And there's duplication there, right? Like in the Camtasia file exists my recordings, but the recordings are also there in my recordings folder. So they're there twice. So I know there's a lot of redundancy there, but I've got enough space that I don't have to worry about that. If you don't have as much space, then you don't have to keep everything. So thanks for watching this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.